Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. Introduction. Imagine this for a moment. It's late. You've just had a wonderful, promising evening with someone new. Someone charming. The kind of person who makes you laugh in a way you haven't in a long time. You finally get their number, and a few days later, you craft what you think is the perfect text message. It's clever, it's casual, it's got a little inside joke. You hit send. And you wait. A few minutes go by. Your phone lights up. You see the little dots. They're typing. Your heart does a little jump. This is it. The slow climb up the roller coaster. And then, the dots disappear. Silence. Nothing. Minutes turn into an hour. An hour turns into 2. The confidence you felt just a little while ago starts to crumble, replaced by a gnawing doubt. You pull up the message you sent, staring at it, dissecting every word. Was it the wrong thing to say? Did I seem too eager? Not eager enough? A day goes by. Nothing. You see them online, posting a picture of a deer they saw on a hike. A deer. They have time for a deer, but not for you? This spiral of anxiety, this tornado of panic and hurt and confusion, it's a feeling almost all of us know too well. And it's the very story that comedian Aziz Ansari found himself in, a story that sparked a question so profound it led him on a journey across the world. He realized that this very modern form of madness wouldn't have even existed a decade or two ago. What has happened to romance? Aziz Ansari, known for his sharp wit and hilarious stand-up, decided he needed to find out. But he knew he couldn't do it alone. He teamed up with a brilliant sociologist, Eric Kleinenberg, and together they launched a massive research project. They traveled from New York to Tokyo, from Paris to Buenos Aires, conducting hundreds of interviews and focus groups. They looked at our text messages, our dating profiles, and the secret worlds we all live in on our phones. The result is this book, Modern Romance. It's not just a collection of dating tips. It's a captivating investigation into the greatest shift in how we find love in human history. Today, we're going to walk through the incredible discoveries they made. We'll journey back in time to understand how our grandparents found love, and why their approach feels so alien to us now. We'll decode the hidden rules of texting, online dating, and the strange new ways we connect and disconnect. By the end of our time together, you will understand the invisible forces that are shaping your own romantic life. You'll see why dating feels so complicated, and you'll be armed with the wisdom to navigate it all with a little more confidence, and a whole lot less of that deer posting-induced panic. Book summary. To understand where we are, we have to first understand where we've been. Imagine, for a moment, the world your grandparents or great-grandparents grew up in. When Aziz and his team sat down with older generations in retirement homes, they discovered a world that seems almost like a foreign country to us now. When asked how they met their spouse of 50 years, the answers were shockingly simple. She lived in the apartment one floor above me. He lived across the street. She lived down the hall. It was remarkable. A huge number of them married someone who lived within walking distance of their childhood home. In 1932, a study in Philadelphia found that 1/3 of all married couples had lived within a 5-block radius of each other. 1 in 8 had lived in the same building. They didn't ask, "Is this person my soulmate?" They didn't wonder if there was someone better in the next town over. As one sociologist put it, people will go as far as they have to find a mate, but no farther. The search was practical. And the reasons for getting married were just as practical. They'd say things like, "He seemed like a good guy," or "She was a nice girl." Marriage wasn't the grand finale of a passionate love story. It was the first step into adulthood. For women, especially, it was often the only way to gain freedom from their parents' home. When Aziz asked a group of older women if many of them got married just to get out of the house, every single one nodded her head. This was what sociologists call the companionate marriage. It wasn't about finding a soulmate who completed you. It was about finding a reliable partner to build a life and a family with. Love was something that might grow over time, like a slow simmer building to a boil. In the 1960s, a full 76% of women said they would be willing to marry someone they didn't love. For them, waiting for a fairy tale romance was a luxury they simply couldn't afford. So what changed? Everything. In a very short period, our entire culture around finding a partner has been turned upside down. We no longer live in that small, limited world. Today, we live through a new phase of life that didn't even exist for our grandparents, emerging adulthood. This is the period of your life from your late teens through your 20s, maybe even your early 30s. It's a time for exploration. You go to college, you try out different jobs, you move to new cities, you have a few relationships. You're not trying to lock down a life partner at 21. You're trying to figure out who you are. And as we figure ourselves out, our pool of potential partners expands from the people on our block to, quite literally, the entire world. This shift has completely changed what we're looking for. We are no longer searching for a good enough partner. We are on an epic quest for our soulmate. When you ask people today why they got married, you hear answers that are worlds apart from the old generation. They say things like, "She is my other half," or "I can't imagine life without him." They talk about deep connections, shared senses of humor, and the feeling that their partner makes them a better version of themselves. We aren't looking for a simmer anymore. We want the relationship to be boiling from the very beginning. This is the soulmate marriage. It holds the potential for a level of happiness and fulfillment that was rarely reached in the past. But it also comes with immense pressure. The bar is astronomically high. We now ask one person to give us what an entire village used to provide: belonging, identity, comfort, passion, mystery, and friendship, all rolled into one. And if a relationship doesn't meet these incredibly high expectations, we are quick to end it, wondering if our true soulmate is still out there. This quest, this search for the perfect person, has become the central drama of modern romance. And the tools we use in this search have transformed the journey itself. We now live in two worlds at once: the real world, and what Aziz calls the phone world. Think about how much of your day is spent looking at a screen. The average American spends nearly 7.5 hours a day in front of a screen. Our phone world is where we connect with everyone, from our parents to a person we just met. It's where we decide where to eat, what movie to see, and of course, where we live out a huge portion of our romantic lives. Today, if you own a smartphone, you are carrying a 24/7 singles bar in your pocket. With a few taps, you are instantly immersed in an ocean of romantic possibilities. But as Aziz's own story with Tanya showed him, this ocean can be treacherous. And the first challenge is often the most terrifying: the initial ask. How do you ask someone out today? Do you call? Do you text? A generation ago, the phone call was the only way. It was a harrowing experience. You'd dial the number, your heart pounding, and pray that their parent didn't pick up. It required real bravery. Today, the phone call is dying. For people under 30, texting is now the preferred way to ask someone out. Younger people, who have grown up in a text-heavy culture, are terrified of actual phone calls. "Phone calls suck and they give me anxiety," one 24-year-old woman told the researchers. Another said, "Since texting started, an actual phone call feels like an emergency." But here's where it gets confusing. Other women said the exact opposite. To them, a guy who calls seems confident and mature. He stands out from the flood of generic hey texts. Some women even said they love getting phone calls, but they have no interest in answering them. They let it go to voicemail to screen the guy. It's a minefield of mixed signals. This shift to texting has profound consequences. A text message separates you from the person you're talking to. You don't see their facial expression or hear the tone in their voice. This distance can make people bolder, and not always in a good way. It facilitates flakiness, rudeness, and what Aziz calls the modern bozo. During his research, Aziz looked through the phones of hundreds of single women, and what he saw was infuriating. Their inboxes were flooded with the most thoughtless, lazy, and generic messages imaginable. Hey, this up. Hey. When you're on the receiving end of dozens of these a day, they all blend into a sea of boredom. It makes the sender seem unoriginal and makes the recipient feel like she's not very special. And sometimes, it's much worse than just being boring. Hiding behind a screen, some men become sexually aggressive douche monsters, sending messages they would never dream of saying in person. Things like afternoon sex, or I like your tits, followed by I'm assuming that they are nice. The consequences of being offensive over text are minimal. You don't have to see the horrified look on her face. But you don't have to be a monster to mess things up. The smallest details in a text can change everything. One guy, named Will, got a woman's number through mutual friends. He had a great shot. His first text introduced himself and included the phrase, "Sort of texty introduce myself." Haha. As soon as Aziz read the word texty to an audience of thousands, the entire theater groaned. Texty, for whatever reason, was universally disgusting. Will may have been a kind, handsome man in real life, but his phone self came across as a dorky, terrifying weirdo. She stopped responding. This is a crucial lesson of modern romance. You now have two selves. Your real-world self, and your phone self. And the nonsense your phone self does can make your real-world self look like an idiot. The person on the other end sees no difference. A thoughtless message with spelling errors can destroy all the goodwill you built up in person. So, what makes a good text? Aziz found 3 key elements that successful first texts share. First, a firm invitation to something specific at a specific time. Don't say "wanna hang out sometime?" That's weak and vague. Say, "Hey, it was great meeting you. I'd love to take you to that restaurant we talked about. Are you free next Thursday?" It shows confidence and thoughtfulness. Second, a callback to your last interaction. This proves you were actually listening. One woman remembered a guy, years later, because his first text said, "I hope your move went well," because she had mentioned she was moving. It shows you see them as a person, not just another option. Third, a humorous tone. This one is tricky, because a bad joke can sink you. But if you share a sense of humor, a funny, clever message can create a powerful spark. Even if you send the perfect text, the game has just begun. There's the complicated science of waiting to reply. Almost everyone in the focus groups had a strategy. Some would double the response time. If he takes 10 minutes to reply, I'll take 20. This creates a sense of having the upper hand, of being less available. This might sound silly, but there's real psychology behind it. Researchers have found that reward uncertainty can dramatically increase our interest. When we don't know when we'll get a reward, like a text back, our brain releases more dopamine, the same chemical associated with pleasure and addiction. If you text back immediately every time, you become predictable. The reward is taken for granted. MIT anthropologist Natasha Schull compares texting someone you're attracted to with playing a slot machine. There's uncertainty, anticipation, and anxiety. You pull the lever, send the text, and you expect an instant outcome. When it doesn't come, your whole system goes into a panic. This is the modern madness Aziz felt with Tanya. It's a distress that simply didn't exist when we had to wait days for a callback on a landline. And sometimes, the reason for the delay isn't a mind game at all. It's because they are busy Googling the hell out of you. In one survey, over 80% of millennials admitted to doing online research on a partner before a first date. In a world where we're meeting total strangers, it's a way to make sure they're not, say, a firefighter who was caught on video beating up an elderly woman for feeding stray cats. Yes, that's a true story from the book. But what if you're the one who's not interested? How do you let someone down? Most people choose one of two paths. They pretend to be busy, or they just go silent. We hate confrontation. It's easier to just disappear and hope they get the hint. But when asked how they prefer to be rejected, overwhelmingly, people say they want honesty. This is the great paradox of modern rejection. We all want the courtesy of a straight answer, but we are rarely willing to give it to others. This entire maze of texting games and online research is just a prelude to the biggest tool in the modern search for a soulmate: online dating. I know what you might be thinking. Online dating can have a stigma. But the numbers are staggering. Between 2005 and 2012, more than 1/3 of all couples who got married in the United States met through an online dating site. That is the single biggest way people meet their spouses. Bigger than work, friends, and school combined. The rise has been incredibly fast. Before the mid-90s, the only options were clunky computer dating services or classified ads in the back of a newspaper. Eric Kleinenberg's own father, Ed, met his wife Anne through a personal ad in the 1980s. His ad read, "Seeking adventure?" and listed his interests. Anne was so embarrassed about meeting him this way that for years she told friends and family a made-up decoy story about how they met. Today, that stigma is vanishing. Online dating gives you a seemingly endless supply of single people, with tools to filter them in any way you want. When a 28-year-old who lives in Brooklyn, loves the music of Naughty by Nature, and is a member of the Baha'i faith, you're just a few clicks away. But this incredible new tool has created a new set of problems. The first is what happens when you have an infinite number of options. When Aziz and his team projected a woman's OkCupid account onto a large screen at a live show, the men in the audience looked on in horror. She was receiving 50 new messages a day. Her inbox was clogged with hundreds of unread messages. In online dating, women get a ton more attention than men. But that doesn't mean men are left out. Take Derek, a man from a focus group who Aziz described as a pretty boring white guy. In the real world, he might not turn heads. But online, he had a stud mentality. He clicked through profiles of beautiful, compelling women and dismissed them for the tiniest reasons. "She looks okay," he said of one, before moving on. "She likes the Red Sox." 20 years ago, if that same woman had smiled at him in a bar, he would have melted. But now, she was just another tab to be closed. This is the exhaustion of online dating. One man, Arpan, started out crafting thoughtful, personal messages to women. But after getting little return on his investment, he became jaded. He started sending out generic, douchebag messages to dozens of women at a time, because it was easier. His dates became standardized, too. Just drinks, at a bar within walking distance of his apartment. The exciting search for love had turned into a second job, and a soul-crushing one at that. He was a stark contrast to another man in the same group, Dinesh. Dinesh wasn't on any dating sites. He met people organically, through church, at volunteer events, through his wide circle of friends. He wasn't exhausted or jaded. He seemed at peace. The story of Arpan and Dinesh reveals a deep truth about our new world of choice. The psychologist Barry Schwartz calls it the paradox of choice. His research shows that when we have more options, we are often less satisfied with our final decision. We become maximizers, obsessed with finding the absolute best. Think about how Aziz tried to pick a restaurant in Seattle. He checked multiple websites, texted expert friends, and cross-referenced menus. He was searching for the perfect meal. By the time he decided, the restaurant was closed, and he ended up eating a sad peanut butter and banana sandwich. The search for the best left him with the worst. This is what's happening to us in romance. With an infinite supply of potential partners online, we start comparing real people not to other real people, but to an idealized fantasy person that no one can ever live up to. We're always wondering if there's an upgrade just a swipe away. How can you be sure you've found the best person? As Schwartz says, the answer is every damn person there is. How else do you know it's the best? If you're looking for the best, this is a recipe for complete misery. So, is the answer to have fewer options? To find out, Aziz traveled to small towns like Monroe, New York, and Wichita, Kansas. He thought he might find a simpler, happier dating scene. Instead, he found people who felt trapped. In a small town, everyone knows everyone. You know who she's dated, who he slept with. It's a cesspool, as one woman put it. There's no discovery. If you use an app like Tinder, you might swipe through 2 people and then, you're done. The limited options weren't making people happier, they were just making them feel stuck. This brings us to a fundamental challenge of modern romance. It's not about having more options or fewer options. It's about how we evaluate the options we have. We go on the same boring-ass dates over and over. Coffee, drinks, dinner. We sit across from someone and exchange resumes. Where are you from? What do you do? How many siblings do you have? Can anyone really shine in that environment? Can you really feel a deep connection while making small talk? Aziz shares what he calls the monster truck rally theory. A friend of his had great success taking dates to a monster truck rally. It was fun, exciting, and different. Instead of a boring interview, they were experiencing something interesting together. They got a real sense of each other's personality and rapport. There's even science to back this up. A famous study found that men who met an attractive woman on a shaky, high-anxiety bridge were far more likely to call her for a date than men who met her on a sturdy, safe bridge. They misattributed their arousal from fear as romantic attraction. Exciting experiences bond us together. And just as we should be more creative with our dates, maybe we should be more patient with the people we're dating. Aziz describes a personal experiment he tried. Instead of going on one date with 4 different women, he decided to go on 4 dates with one woman. He found that a first date that was just a 6 out of 10 often became an 8 by the second or third date. As they became more familiar, they developed inside jokes and a better rapport. He realized he had probably been eliminating people who could have been great partners, simply because they didn't create fireworks on the very first night. There's something uniquely valuable in everyone, but those deeper qualities only come out during sustained interactions. Your mate value, your average first impression based on looks and charisma, matters less than your unique value, those special qualities that a specific person finds captivating in you. But you can't discover that unique value in a single, boring date, or by swiping through photos. You have to invest the time. This is powerfully illustrated by one of the most incredible stories in the book. At one of his stand-up shows, Aziz brought a woman on stage who had been exchanging messages with a guy. The messages seemed to show she wasn't interested. She was making all kinds of excuses, including a very intense one about her brother-in-law's dying grandmother. The audience overwhelmingly concluded she would never go out with him. A year later, that same woman contacted Aziz. She told him that after seeing the audience's reaction, she decided to give the guy a chance. They started dating. And now, they were getting married. That potentially amazing person can so easily die as just another option in your phone, buried under an endless stream of new faces. Of course, the challenges don't end once you find someone and settle down. In fact, a whole new set of modern problems emerges. The same technology that helps us connect also creates new avenues for infidelity, jealousy, and heartbreak. Consider sexting. Sharing explicit images is nothing new. People have been sending erotic letters for centuries. But the smartphone has made it incredibly easy and common. Half of all young adults have received a sext. For many, it's a fun and healthy way to build intimacy, maintain a long-distance relationship, or just feel powerful and desired. But it comes with the terrifying risk of exposure. The phone world also makes it easier to cheat. The privacy of our phones provides a perfect refuge to foster a clandestine relationship. You can be lying in bed next to your partner, secretly texting someone else. And because we know this is possible, it breeds a new kind of paranoia, snooping. We hear a story of a man who got suspicious when he saw his girlfriend had downloaded Snapchat, an app he associated with sending nude photos. He was furious, but he couldn't say anything, because she was in a back brace in an ambulance after a ski accident. It turned out the guy she was snapping with was gay, but the story shows how easily suspicion can spiral out of control in our new digital world. Even breaking up has been transformed. Over half of young adults have ended a relationship through digital media, texting, social media, or email, because it's less awkward. We read a brutal story of a man who ended a 2-year relationship over Facebook chat with the message, "I keep going back and forth on whether or not I want to be with you, / A 2-year bond ended with a sideways sad face. And when you're in a committed relationship, how do you handle the simple biological fact that passionate love fades? Brain scans show that the initial, drug-like high of passionate love, that flood of dopamine, typically lasts only 12 to 18 months. After that, in good relationships, it's replaced by a calmer, deeper bond called companionate love. It's the love you feel for a lifelong partner, more like a deep friendship than a cocaine high. This transition is a danger point. Many couples break up when the initial passion fades, thinking something is wrong with the relationship, without ever giving companionate love a chance to grow. They get scared and jump back into the single world, chasing that initial high all over again. So, faced with a world of infinite options and the biological certainty that passion fades, how do we ever find lasting happiness? This is where the book's journey comes full circle. Aziz started this project feeling confused and frustrated by the chaos of modern dating. But after all the research, he came to a place of hope. He realized that his own exhaustion with the single life, the endless bar hopping, the repetitive first dates, was a sign that he was ready for something deeper. He started being more intentional about his search, going to places he genuinely enjoyed, and giving the people he met a real chance. He eventually found an amazing partner and settled down. But the decision was still tough. He was scared of closing the door on all the other possibilities. This is the central conflict for so many of us, the fear of settling down, versus the fear of settling for less than a soulmate. The truth is, we are living through a unique moment in history. We have more freedom, more choice, and higher expectations than any generation before us. This is both a blessing and a curse. It makes the search more complicated and stressful, but it also means we are far more likely to end up with someone we are truly, deeply excited about. Commentary. As we close the pages of modern romance, what are we left with? It's a book that starts with a comedian's dating anxieties and ends up being one of the most insightful and clear-eyed looks at love in our time. It's funny, yes, but beneath the humor is a profound sense of empathy for how difficult this journey has become for all of us. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the idea of intentionally. In a world that feels so chaotic and overwhelming, where we are bombarded with options and messages, the book gently reminds us that we still have agency. We can choose how we engage with technology and with each other. We're so often passive participants in our own love lives. We swipe, we text, we wait, we react. But what if we decided to be the architects of our romantic experiences? What if we decided to bring the same creativity and thoughtfulness to our dates that we bring to our careers or our hobbies? That's where the practical wisdom of this book really shines. So, if you're looking to apply these ideas to your own life, here are a few simple actions you can take, starting today. First, embrace the monster truck rally theory. For your very next date, I challenge you to plan something that isn't just coffee or drinks. It doesn't have to be a monster truck rally. It could be an alpaca farm, a beekeeping class, or a Westminster dog show drinking game. The point is to do something active and interesting that allows you to experience a person's personality, not just listen to their resume. Create a shared experience, not an interview. Second, try the 5-date rule. The next time you meet someone you're interested in, even if the first date is just a 6, commit to giving them a real chance. Go on a few more dates. Invest the time to see if their unique, deeper qualities emerge. Resist the urge to immediately jump back onto your phone and search for the next, theoretically better, option. Remember that people, like a flow ride a song, often get better with repetition. And third, conduct a phone self-audit. Go back and look at the last few text conversations you had with someone you were trying to date. Read them out loud. Is that the person you want to be? Are you being thoughtful, clear, and kind? Or are you being lazy, generic, and non-committal? Remember, there is a real, living, breathing person on the other side of that little bubble, someone with their own hopes and anxieties, probably feeling just as confused as you are. Treat them that way. In the end, modern romance isn't a book with easy answers, because there are none. It doesn't give you a magic formula for finding your soulmate. Instead, it gives you something far more valuable, a map of the new world we all find ourselves in, and the wisdom to navigate it with a little more grace and a little less fear. It reminds us that for all the new technologies and the new rules, the goal is timeless. It's about finding a way to connect, to be vulnerable, and to have a little faith in the person sitting across from you. That was our deep dive into modern romance by Aziz Ansari. We've explored the biggest ideas and the most powerful stories today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you hold the book in your own hands. It's in the quiet moments, when one of Aziz's hilarious footnotes or a particular story hits you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this journey is one you want to take. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity or made you feel understood, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself, your phone, and the complicated, beautiful search for love. If you found this summary valuable and it gave you a new perspective, I'd be so grateful if you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.